several or have me play through some of the sample books. I have written, well, come out with 17 music books. So, what I did, and I was explaining this before a little bit, my company is Music Motivation, and so I created my company, and I'm a piano teacher. I love teaching piano lessons, and I came out with 2 books. The first 2 books I came out with, one was called Variations on Mary Had a Little Lamb, and one was called An Introduction to Scales and Modes. And I think you have the Introduction to Scales and Modes book. Yeah, you can just pass it back and forth, but let me look at that just for a second. So what happened was I came out with these 2 books, An Introduction to Scales and Modes, and Variations on Mary Had a Little Lamb. And because of those 2 books, and I mean they're fun books, but the Scales and Modes books, that's just going through every key, doing all scales and modes. Not really the most exciting book. Okay? The Variations on Mary Had a Little Lamb is fun because it teaches all different styles of how to arrange Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. But because of those 2 books, I was flooded by teachers. Piano teachers who said, I have this 16-year-old boy, he hates the piano, he wants to quit, he wants to stop, I'm going to send him to you to see what you can do. And so I had this entire studio filled with all of these teenage boys who did not want to be there. They did not like playing, they did not enjoy the music, and I had to figure out what to do with it. So I started creating fun, cool-sounding music. The Cool Songs for Cool Kids series, there's the primer level, books 1, 2, and 3. And then I came out with Cool Songs That Rock this past summer. In addition, I have Triumphant. It has 10 original piano solos that I've created for intermediate to later intermediate piano students, as well as Sea Fever book, jazzed about 4th of July, jazzed about Christmas, jazzed about jazz. Just some fun different books to teach improvisation, teach composition, and teach arranging. So I'm going to start with the Cool Songs for Cool Kids book, and we're going to talk a little bit about these 4 books to begin with. Let me pass around the Cool Songs for Cool Kids book 1. You have one, right? Here's this. You can look through this. Okay, this is Cool Songs for Cool Kids book 1. Let's go to the first piece in the book. This is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Blast Off. It's on page number 8 of the book. Most of these pieces in all of the Cool Songs for Cool Kids books, I have 21 original, fun, cool-sounding pieces that I've composed. But each one teaches a theory concept. I want the students to learn something in the process. So my slogan is music that excites, entertains, and educates. Because I want the students to have fun, but I want them to kind of learn something in the process. And most of these were composed during a piano student's lesson, where they would come in, and I have finale, so I would go over and I would play it, and I would just quickly come out with the paper, the sheet music, and I'd send it home with them and say, okay, go play this. And the first thing they would always say is, that sounds cool. Which is where the Cool Songs for Cool Kids kind of came up with. So look at this, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Blast Off. I had a student that we were working on 5th intervals, 4th intervals, 3rd intervals, and 2nd intervals. And I was just having him practice doing this. Okay? Very simple. And he enjoyed it. He thought it was great, but at the same time, it wasn't cool. It wasn't fun. So I said, let's try to create something. And the boys love the 5th interval. Just kind of creating that repetitious pattern over and over. For some reason, I don't know why, they just love that 5th interval when the hands get bigger. That octave interval, they love doing that repetitious pattern. So I said, we're going to do a 5th interval with the left hand, and with the right hand, we are going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. And he said, okay, this sounds cool, this sounds great. And he was like 10. Okay? And so I did this. so cool, I want to play it. And I said, yes, I've got him. Okay, because he had been talking about how he hates piano, he doesn't want to do this. And for me, it was this small little victory. Yes, I've got him excited. But it's simple. And it sounds more difficult. With these, I wanted the first few books to really sound very big and challenging, but to be really easy. It's just a 5-finger pattern for the student to play. And at the bottom, I actually have a challenge. Once you've perfected 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off in the key of C, play the song in every key, moving up in half steps. So I have the students actually try to do the pentascale, and I explain it, which is the first 5 notes of the C major scale. But I tell them, pretend you're taking every finger and walk up half a step chromatically. It's easier to have the students walk up half a step before they start following circle of fifths and circle of fourths. It helps them start to understand the patterns, because music is all about patterns. And so I would have the student practice playing the pentascale and then just move up in half steps. And instantly they start practicing transposing. It's really a fun way to have them take this and move up. And now usually I wait until the end of the book before I have them try to transpose it. But they have a fun time taking that and learning what they can do to create and do something more with that. Let's turn the page to 5 for 5. This is on page 10. And again, I think it was the same student. I think the following week, he was still enjoying that 5th pattern of the 5th interval. But I was having him really work on doing his pentascale. But he wanted something cool, something fun, that sounded great. So this is what I played for him. I just created during his lesson. So I have the students really try to get that fingering down. Once they learn it, it is so easy for them to do. At first they say, oh, and something I have them try to do to really kind of get them to learn it quickly, I say, I want you to play the C major scale, but I want you to do each note 4 times, doing 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4. And for them to practice, and I say you can do 4, 3, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's a good little exercise to really get the students practicing. 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And they're practicing doing that fingering. It's the transition on one key, where you're playing 4 times on one key, but you're using 4 different fingers. And it's really helpful to have them practice that. And as anything that is challenging, the first time you do it, of course it's going to be challenging, but once you get it, it is so enjoyable. So when they practice that, and they get that, starting down, measure 13 at the bottom of the page, 5 for 5, watch this. Start here. students practice, I put in the little 8VA, but I love having the students go all over the keyboard. Go up high, go down low. Even if it's something as simple as that,
Well, it's kind of an ego boost for them too, because they're all over the piano, and it sounds like such a big piece, but it's easy.
Yes, it sounds so big.
And they feel cool for their friends.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing, to be cool for your friends. And that is what they want. Let me show you quickly. I'm going to jump to the primer level. This is Cool Songs for Cool Kids primer level. I think I may only have one with me, so I'll pass it around to you. Come in. You came back.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were here in the fall when we did this.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Okay. This song is from the primer level, and I wanted to have only the pentascale notes, but the left hand just have them do C and G as a whole note and hold it. So watch this. It's very, very simple. When students play this, okay, and usually, if you look at this, it looks pretty challenging. It's very, very simple. But when the people hear the students playing that, they think it's very, very difficult. Okay? Well, then they can break it apart. And so he loved doing that. And he spent 2 years, I was just teaching him jazz for 2 years, and he was very, very good. And then he started bringing me classical pieces. The jazz actually got him back excited about classical. Before, he wanted to quit. I don't want anything to do with classical music. I started teaching him some jazz and some of my songs like Triumphant, which I'll play for you a little later on. And all of a sudden, he starts bringing me classical music. And then I had to help him, we stay in classical world when we play classical pieces, because he was doing okay, and he would start to jazz it up a bit, kind of. And I said, no, we can do that later on, after you perfect the piece as it is, and then we can really jazz it up all we want. And we can really jazz it up. But for now, just play it exactly as it is written. And then we can start to change it around. And he was able to do it. But I had to help him think in terms of, this is classical, that's jazz. Okay? We go back and forth between the two. It's kind of like learning how to speak another language. Okay? We're speaking English, and then we start speaking German. Okay? We go back and forth between the two, then we start speaking, maybe we pick up another language.
But don't speak German with an English accent.
Exactly.
You have to do it.
Which is my problem when I speak languages. They don't know what language I'm speaking. Let's stay with Cool Songs for Cool Kids Book 1. I would like to have you, let's go to, we're going to go back a little bit. Spy Games on 24. Page 24. This is Spy Games. This was during another piano student's lesson. He was wanting to learn how to play video game music. He came to me and said, that's all I want to play, video game music. And actually on my website, I have a link, Nintendo. They created, they have an entire website where they have all of the music, piano music, to every Nintendo game out there. I mean, it's unbelievable. We're talking Super Mario, we're talking Zelda, fantasy. I mean, everything is there, all the different games. And so I will send boy students there and say, okay. And they have the MIDI file you can listen to it. They have the PDF where you can print off the sheet music. And so I'll say, okay, you can print out one of these. This is kind of like the people saver. Okay? You can print out one of these and then really impress your friends. That's what they want. They want to sound cool for their friends. Okay? So this, we were talking about fifth and sixth intervals. Now right below the title of each of the pieces in all of my books, I explain the skill that they are learning. Here it says perfect fifth and minor sixth intervals. Well, if you have, I'll start on C and G as an example. C and G is a perfect fifth. Well, I explain to students all intervals, if you go up half a step, it becomes an augmented interval if it's sharp. C and G sharp would be augmented fifth. If you go down half a step, C and G flat, well, that's a diminished fifth interval. And so I help the students understand if it's a perfect interval, if it goes down half a step, it becomes a diminished interval. All intervals, when they are taken up half a step, become augmented intervals. But if you have a major sixth interval and it goes down half a step, it becomes a minor sixth. It doesn't become a diminished until you go down a whole step. So, if I had a C and B, that would be my major seventh interval. C and B flat is my minor seventh interval. If I had C and B double flat, in classical music you see that all the time. Okay? They have double flats or double sharps where you have the X. Well, if I have C and B double flat, that is a diminished seventh chord. Well, interval. See, the diminished seventh chord is created by having the C diminished triad with the diminished seventh interval up on top. So the students, when they start understanding the theory of how music is created, it starts to make more sense to them. The problem is, most of the time we don't talk about intervals and kind of how you construct chords or theory until they get into a theory class up at the university. And then they're kind of blown away and they think, oh, I never learned any of this. And they're overwhelmed. But if you start kids out younger, they get it. They understand. And just start them off doing first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. And then you can start talking about whether it's perfect, major, minor, augmented, diminished. But I had a student, and we were talking about the difference between a perfect fifth and then the minor sixth. So I started him with an A and an E, and I said, this is a perfect fifth. A and F is the minor sixth. And so he said, can you create a song? They all say, can you create a song? Whenever I teach them a theory concept, it's always, well, let's see you make a song out of that. And so, okay. So usually I do, and then we put that in the book later on. But this is Spy Games. Now, the rhythm, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 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 and 2 boys especially, they love playing it. It sounds like a video game to them. I don't know what it is about the 1 and 2 and 3, that syncopated offbeat rhythm. When they come in on the and, they love doing it. And at first it's a little tricky for them to get, but as soon as they get it, for them to play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and they just love doing that rhythm. And it's fun for them to play this. Now, let me show you. Go to Battlefront. This is on page 26. So we're just going to skip over. I had an adult student, actually, who had a tough time getting his chord progressions down. Okay? And he's actually an engineer, and he takes copious notes, which is fantastic for me because he'll come back with like 6, 7, 8 pages of notes with each lesson. And then I introduced him to finale, and so then he would start putting everything down in sheet music format. And I thought, so then I asked him, I said, can I get copies of your notes? And he said, well, it's all in your head anyway. I said, it's nice to have it down on paper. And so, I mean, he would come back with all these notes. He is fantastic. But I love what he does because he wants to find out detailed theory. I mean, he's an engineer, so he has that engineer's mind, and he wants to break everything down. So we were talking about the E minor scale, relative minor to G major, and we were talking about the chord progression. And I had talked to him about how when we're in the key of C major, the basic triad chord progression is major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. So then when we went to the minor key, it threw him off a little bit when I said, well, we start with a minor chord, since we're on the minor scale, but then we go to a diminished. See, this is F sharp major, F sharp minor, F sharp diminished. So we start with minor, diminished, then we go to the major, G major, A minor, then we go to the B minor, then we go to C major, D major, E minor. And it threw him off just a little bit as we were talking about the chord progression of the harmonic minor scale. Because many times when we have that D sharp, that little accidental, when you are creating the chord progression for your 1, 4, 5 in the minor key, they use that accidental from the harmonic minor scale. So as we do this, that is why we have that D sharp, 1, 4, 5, 5, 7, 1 in the minor key, because of that harmonic minor scale. Well, I was showing that to him and having the accidental, and he wondered if we could have a nice simple way to explain it and to teach it. So for me, it's always, let's create a song. I like to teach through music. So I said, with the left hand, I'm going to play a blocked chord. With the right hand, I'm going to break apart the chord. But have the same chord, and we're going to do the 1, 4, 5, 5, 7 chord progression. Okay, this is the E minor. But watch this. This is Battlefront. Both hands are playing the same chords, but the right hand is broken and the left hand is blocked. Now the right hand does an inversion. And then we go back down to the traditional root position of the chords. Students paint for me a picture. This is Battlefront, and some have even made the comparison and say, oh, well, Battlefront, you know, what's happening with Battlefront? And of course the boys, they like to say, oh, everyone's shooting each other, you know, everyone's dying, you know, young people are falling to the ground, you know, and I ask them to paint for me the picture musically, what they are doing. And they say, well, when we have these accents, someone really gets shot. You know, maybe they have a bigger gun, or I don't know. And then down here, when we get to forte and we have the full chords, they're bringing out the cannons. You know, everything's really. And so they start to get this image, this picture. But at the same time, we're helping them understand the 1, 4, 5, 5, 7 chord progression. Okay? What we are doing is we are painting an audio picture. Okay? For everyone who listens to what we are doing. when we are performing, and for me, if I am playing somewhere and performing, I love looking at the audience. If I see someone who is crying, I know my job has been done because I'm trying to evoke a certain emotion. Okay? For example, okay, a poor ferryman of grief. I can add a few notes, make it sound flowery, kind of change the way it sounds. Well, there are some words in the song that I always like to look at the words to help me know how I want to change the music. And the one part, in prison I saw him, okay, next condemned to meet a traitor's doom at morn. Well, that's really a sad minor sound. But it sounds so happy. In prison I saw him about to die, but I smiled at him and said, well, goodbye. I mean, it's way too happy. Way too happy. I want to create the sound. So I put it in the minor key right there. And what do? I flat the 3rd, the 6th, and the 7th of my scale. Instantly, it changes the way the piece sounds, but more important, the way it feels. Now I go back to major. So I can change how I want the emotions to be received. And any student can do that, okay? Even if they're really little, okay? Play gently. Bang on the keys, okay? I've broken many strings in my day.
You have to actually tell the kids to play gently. Or to play loud, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to tell them to bang on the keys. They know, they've got that one mastered. They know that one. You don't have to tell them to do that one. Let me play the last one in this book, and then I'm going to go to some of the other books. I have, well, let's turn the page to Bittersweet 32. This is, I want it to be a pop sounding piece. Okay? This is on page 32. So I want this to have a pop feel. And I have one of my girl students who loves this piece, and it drives me crazy. And it drives her family crazy. Because she passed this piece off, I think last August, and still, every lesson she has to come and play it for me. She's addicted. Which is, it's great, you know, I love that she enjoys it, but she just loves the piece. And I keep telling her, okay, we need to move on. Well, let me just end with this piece, and at the end of my lesson, played it last week. You passed it off back in the fall. I mean, it's time to move on. There comes a time when, and I wrote it, okay, but there comes a time when we just need to kind of move on. But she loves this piece because I want it to be a pop sounding piece. Which is fun, but she loves that offbeat rhythm of the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. And that is really, I mean, it's a pop feel. But she loves that, and it's what she hears every day. It's what she listens to on the radio. So it sounds familiar, so she wants to play that kind of music for her friends. In part, with the Cool Songs for Cool Kids series, I wanted to create fun, cool music that they could play, and they wouldn't be embarrassed to play. But I'll play that in a minute. This is called New Age-ish. It's in the key of A. Watch this. So this is book 2. This picks up where the last one left off. Okay? Let me show you some of these examples. It starts off, and we have Boot Camp Boogie. Okay? The left hand is doing that perfect fifth to the major sixth interval, and then we go up to the minor seventh interval. Okay? Now watch the right hand. We have a grace note, D sharp to the E. See that? Many times I will tell students they can use the second to third, or sometimes jazz musicians will use the third to the third. Those slidings. It's a little boogie pattern that the students can try. It's not too difficult, but the students love playing these sounds and getting these sounds. If you look at Tick Tock Click and Clock, on the next page, we are going down into the intervals. That's all we're doing with the right hand. They're practicing playing those intervals, 8th, 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. They're moving up, they're coming down, and it's a good way to have the students practice doing that. Let's go to Fancy That on page 20. Think Charlie Brown. Okay? It starts off slowly. And then the left hand starts coming in with this. 14 and fade away. Okay, just a simple little thing for them to try. Turn the next page, Smooth Sailing. Again, this is in Cool Songs for Cool Kids Book 2. Smooth Sailing, kind of a new age style at the top. Let me just show you. We'll go to Amazed on page 26. The students to have fun trying different styles and different sounds. And in each of these books we have 21 different pieces. Some are pop, jazz, blues, some are new age, some are classical by nature, some are rock. This is Slip and Slide Summertime. really have a fun time sliding up and down the piano, it really is a different thing for them to experience. So they really enjoy doing that. On the next page is pogo stick punch out. To chillaxing on the next page, where it's this new age style. And then on the next page, we have a soundtrack for a thriller. Okay? So watch this. we have je ne sais quoi. Okay? And this is even more of a contrast because we have this. Different style, and again we have the tenuto with the right hand against the staccato with the left hand. To really help the student understand, that tenuto, exaggerate that. And then we have the legato, the slur, okay? So to keep that steady, pizzicato with the left hand against the tenuto, when we're exaggerating, that note, holding it out just a little bit longer with the tenuto, and then when we have that legato, it's really tricky for the students to get that, but it's fun once they get it. And again, I wanted to just create fun, challenging music, and it starts off simply, with the primer level, then going up, it gets more advanced, okay, with each level. The Cool Songs for Cool Kids Book 3, let me just play one of these for you to kind of show you. It gets a little more advanced. This is From the Heart. I don't think you have, do you have Cool Songs Book 3? I may only have one with me right here. Yeah, I think I only have the one with me. So I'll play this for you. I'll pass it around. So this is From the Heart. in this book, the most challenging pieces are the last two pieces in the Cool Songs for Cool Kids Book 3. And this is more for intermediate to late intermediate students. But look at discord, okay? We have 5 sharps, and we have a lot of double sharps throughout the piece, okay? So let me just play the first part of this, and I'll show you. It starts off.
That's like haunting. Beautiful. I hear it all the time, but still, somehow.
It is.
That's just beautiful.
Graduation is the last piece in the Cool Songs for Cool Kids series. I don't know why I call it graduation, maybe because they're graduating from the Cool Songs for Cool Kids series. But it gets kind of tricky over there and on the back. Okay? And so here it starts off. cool songs for the kids series. And so there are the 4 books within that series. And we don't have time today to go through everything that I've done. But the Introduction to Scales and Modes book is all keys going through the scales and the modes. And the way I have outlined the book, I start off teaching pentascales and intervals and kind of explaining about it. But then every key goes through where we have the major scales, 1 octave, contrary and parallel motions, followed by the intervals, blocked and broken. Then the basic triads, blocked and broken, followed by the primary chord progression, 1, 4, 5, 5, 7, 1. And then we have the 7th chords, blocked and broken. And we do that in every key following the circle of fifths. Okay? So it starts there, then we go through all the modes, C Ionian, D Dorian, E Phrygian, F Lydian, G Mixolydian, A Aeolian, B Locrian, and then we do all the C modes, C Ionian, C Dorian, C Phrygian, C Lydian, C Mixolydian, C Aeolian, C Locrian, and then we go through every key doing that. Key of G, key of D, key of A. We go through all the major keys, and then at the end of the book we have the minor keys, and we talk about mode application. Okay? Quite a bit to do with the modes. I like the modes. I like to play around with the modes. Jazzed about 4th of July. This is for early intermediate piano students. And in here I have 18, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh no, I have 10 in this book. I have 10 jazzed up patriotic songs that I've done, all in the key of C. That was intentional. Okay? So they're for early intermediate piano students. Jazzed About Christmas has 18, that's what I was thinking, 18 Christmas songs that I've jazzed up. They're all in the key of C, and they're all 1 page long. So very nice to have the students go through it and practice those. Jazzed About Jazz has 8 jazz pieces that I've created. Each one has an entire page explaining the theory and the lesson, where I talk about the chords, I talk about the scales, I talk about what they're doing with the piece, and then I have them play the piece. So they're just 8 fun jazz pieces I've written, but this is more for late intermediate piano students, because it gets a little tricky. And at the end, I'm going to play the jazz song, and this is where students bleed on my piano, okay? When they have to do this. They're doing all these glissandos, sliding up and down the piano, and they do this. So they're going down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. Okay, all over the piano, which is why I can tell them not to bleed on my piano. C Fever is more for late intermediate to advanced piano students. And in this book, they're all quite a bit more classical in nature. Okay?
What's it called?
C Fever.
The book?
The book is called C Fever.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the book is called C Fever, and the first piece is called C Fever. I'll just play the first page of this first book. So, I like octaves. And in that one, I show that I like octaves. But you can look through this, okay? So the right hand is primarily 4 and 5 note chords with the right hand. This is not beginner. This is much more for the late intermediate to advanced student for that book. And all of the pieces in that book are about the same. Okay? Right now, I'm just going to play. Mind if I play 2 more songs, or what do you want? 2 more? Okay. And if you want me to stay and play more, I can do that as well. But thank you. I have a. Well, I need a page turner.
I will be your woman.
You will be the.
Because I am your woman.
You are. Well, I'd much rather have you sitting on the bench with me, or standing next to me. Let's have you stand over here. This is called crowd surfing. Right now, I've actually gone through and orchestrated almost all of these. This is my new book. This is Cool Songs That Rock. This is for those teenage boys, okay, who needed something fun and cool and rock, but a little more advanced, but not too difficult. This is called crowd surfing. I'm working on this, coming out with this as a single, and I wrote all the parts out for piano, cello, violin, for electric guitar, acoustic guitar, electric bass, drum set, and then I'll go into the studio with the musicians. They're phenomenal. I mean, they sight read everything as if it's nothing to them, because it is nothing to them. But they're amazing. So this is crowd surfing. Let me play this for you. all of these, there are 7 pieces in this book, and they all have kind of a rock or a pop feel about them. And I wrote this with teenage boys in mind. I've had several teachers and several girls email me and say, "You say you wrote this with boys in mind, but I love this. You know, this is not just for boys." And I say, I'm not saying it's just for boys. You know, girls can play.
They're just harder to motivate.
Girls can play it. That's fine. But I wrote this with the boys in mind. Okay, I was thinking of the boys when I composed each of these pieces. The first one, "Rock On," on page 6. That was part of the thing as well. Most of these in this book, Cool Songs That Rock, even though they are more advanced, okay, most of the ones, if you look at the first one, key of A minor, well, C, okay, key of A minor. Look at the second one, key of A minor, so no sharps, no flats. Look at the third one, we start in C, and then we go to the key of F where we have one flat, okay. Fourth one, jam session, key of C. Now, it is, the rhythms are a little more intricate on jam session. Pop and rock piano solos for intermediate students, they can really, most of them, they can sit down within a week or two. They can have these pieces down because I tried to have patterns that they could quickly learn. It's all about patterns. If you can quickly get them to learn a piece, in the Cool Songs for Cool Kids series, okay, primary level, 1 page per song. Okay? Book 1, 1 page per song until we get to the last 3 songs. And it's because I want them, within a week, pretty much to master those pieces. So it's almost like one new song per week, you finish it, and they have a song they can play. Instead of taking a month or 2 months to work on one song, I had a student who came to me, and for a year and a half, he'd been working on one song, okay, by Ravel. And it was beautiful. The way he played it was beautiful. And I said, what else have you got? And he said, this is it. And I said, well, no, what other songs have you been working on? And he said, this is all I've been working on for a year and a half. And I thought, who is his teacher? But who is this kid that for a year and a half he can sit and stay with one song? And then I asked him to play a song for me, okay? And his first response was, how high should my arm come off the keys? And I said, what? And he said, well, my last teacher would hold up her arm like this, and I had to raise up my wrist to hit her arm. And I said, that has nothing to do with the sound that you produce. I said, that has nothing. I said, I'm not going to hold out my arm and say, hit my arm. Because he said his last teacher would hold out her arm and say, when you release, at the end of each phrase, I want you to bring your arm up to this level and hit my arm. And I said, that has nothing to do with the sound you produce. Your arms and your hands are off the keys. I said, that's stylistic, that's great, but I'm not going to do that. But again, that's kind of the mentality. He'd only been working on one piece for a year and a half. And I want the students to keep them motivated. I mean, they live in the video game world, the YouTube world, okay? The iPad world. If they don't have that instant gratification,
Past that level.
yeah, if they don't pass that level, they're shot. So, but it kind of helps you understand and see. Now, does anyone have any questions? Would you like me to play another piece, or I probably will end by playing Triumphant. This has a minus track. This is the first one that has the minus track. All of my books, I'm going to be creating a minus track for all of the pieces from all of my books. Okay? So I'm going to have my work cut out for me, because between these 17 books we have over 150 something pieces. So I do have my work cut out for me, but to have the students play along with that minus track, it is so cool for them to play. Let me play for you Triumphant. I came out with this single that, and I don't have a download card for this, I apologize, but that card right there that says Triumphant, on YouTube I have a video I created of Triumphant, but I also, on iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby, people can download, for 99 cents, the song, me playing Triumphant. Of course, it's in the studio, and it's the recorded version. But this right here is with the minus track. On my website, students can purchase this minus track. It's 99 cents for the minus track. The piano part has been removed from the piece. So then when the students play, they can play the piano, turn on their speakers. I just have speakers hooked up to my iMac, of all things. Okay? So it's very, very simple to have the students try that, but when they do, they can play along with the music. So let me quickly, here we go. This is the Triumphant minus track. Let me make sure my sound volume is up all the way. And this will give you a good idea what I'm wanting to do with all of the pieces. I like to do full orchestrations, and I love to orchestrate. But this is Triumphant. I'm going to play. Would you like to turn the page for me? Because you're very cute. Thank you. Okay. I think I turned it up all the way. Yeah. So it'll start off with 4 clicks, and then the student can come in. But it's fun to have the students play along with this. I've had students at a recital. They just bring little speakers like this, okay? And then they play along. And you want to talk about a whole new recital experience. I've had students who, they have asked me if they could get a CD with minus track. And they just downloaded it. So I said, yeah, just burn the CD. And they say, can we play at our school assembly? And they will put the minus track over the PA system, have the grand piano on the stage, and then, of course, it'll be, for one of their school assemblies. And I said, by all means. And I've had a few students, of my own students, as well as a few other students who have done that, and they have loved it. Because to have that playing while they're playing the piano, all of a sudden it's not just a piano performance anymore. And those are all live musicians. Those are not fake instruments, okay? They were all live musicians. But it's fun to have the students, it's a different experience. And I want the students to really enjoy playing. And for me, I mean, it was a commandment to my home growing up. It was law, thou shalt play the piano, the 11th commandment. But I learned to love it. And I had a fun time. For me, it was because I was composing and changing music, which my teachers may not have appreciated or enjoyed.
He really only took lessons until he was like 14, because then he just
I stopped when I was 14.
Mostly self-taught.
For two reasons. My younger sister needed piano lessons. And so, even though my father plays, he never taught. And it was one of those, he didn't want to teach his children because we thought he didn't know anything.
Yeah, right.
Okay, yeah. The kids think their parents don't know anything. It's that Mark Twain saying, when I was 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to be around the old man. But by the time I was 21, I was amazed at how much he had learned in 7 short years. And it's that whole philosophy. We think our parents don't know anything.
He tries to teach our 7-year-old little girl, and she's just like, Daddy,
Yeah, she
no,
doesn't think
I know already. Like, no, you don't know. Let me teach you.
Students act that way with the teacher too.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Actually, that's true.
It's true.
I know.
And
There's something
it
about
was
this
so
generation,
fast.
because when I was...
I've been playing.
I know you. Well, when I was little, and I think my friends were the same way, we just respected our teachers and just didn't ever, and I was never asked what I wanted to play, so I was like, you will play this, and I'm like, okay. It's like all nervous and intimidated, but now I just see students who are just, wow.
I don't want
Matt
to play
Tarr,
that.
I
I don't want to play that. I'm not going to play
I don't want to learn that.
Too bad.
Okay,
It's just
look at
weird.
that. Let's try again. And so it's funny to have that, but at the same time, for me, it was nice because my father had always pushed me and challenged me. Now try this, now. And I was one of those weird kids, and I'm still weird. I would take my paper route money and go buy music theory books.
He's the only person I know who actually enjoys
Music theory
theory.
books.
I know.
I love music theory books. Okay, I know. I challenge my
You're a
piano
handsome nerd.
students. I challenge them to read the Harvard Dictionary of Music. Now I'm probably one of the only weird ones that has and enjoys.
He still goes to the DI and buys nerdy books
All
about
the
music.
time.
And it's really cool.
I
love
love
it.
music theory books. I mean, the local music
It's like
stores.
math to me.
Yeah, I'll buy
It
me.
is like math. It is.
Well, and it's funny because all the music stores up where I live, I will say, okay, if you get any really weird, advanced music books, call me. Let me know. And they'll say, okay, I have books that haven't sold in years because they have, all these 13th chords and, 9th chords, and they start getting to all the Napoleon. And I said, great, Napoleon's 6th chords, let's go. And so.
Well, the fun thing about your music, though, is that you are teaching a theory through your music, and you explain it in your books in such a way that anyone can understand.
I have a very
And it has to
simple
be
mind.
No. It's because
I
you're
want
so...
to explain things in a very, very
Yeah,
simple
but
way.
it takes a lot of intelligence to be able to do that, though.
Wow.
To be able to take something so
Very
confusing and
simple.
simplify it in such a way that people like it and have fun doing it.
It's like buying some simplified music that's really tacky.
Yeah.
And some people that you simplify can make it really good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We can see why you love her.
Oh, she is. She is hot. She is beautiful.
Thank
I
you.
love her. She's wonderful.
Well, he's so fun to be married to.
But if you have, and see, all of these, I'm in the process of filming myself, playing every piece from every book, and then teaching the theory. So on my website, when they click on the book, it will have each song listed, Then it will show where they can download the individual sheet music if they want, or the entire book, but there will be a video with every single song. So they can see me play it and they can hear how it sounds. And they can say, oh, that sounds cool, because, I mean, that's the age we live in. But if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me.